The Seismic 7, Chapter 9, Part 2. Over the next week, Kinsey and I come up with a way to check if Dr. Greer's been reading our emails. Miss McNamara might think we're being paranoid, but I'd rather not take any chances. Our plan is simple. Kinsey and I sign each of our emails home with an added, seemingly random letter several spaces below our names. If a person was to read both of our emails and combine the letters we've been ending them with, they would spell, "Hi, Dr. Greer." But we're nearing the last of emails for this plan and haven't gotten any sign from Dr. Greer that she's noticed. So either she is pretending really well or isn't reading our emails after all. I hope it's that she isn't reading them, but I also wonder if she got tipped off that something was up by how much more often Kinsey is writing to her grandmother. Meanwhile, down in the tunnels, Eddie and Raquel still haven't returned our messages. Miss McNamara's been gone even more than usual, and the days are starting to melt from one into another. Every night I go to bed even more exhausted than the last. However, all of our work is finally paying off. We finished our first beta tunnels a whole week earlier than scheduled, on day 21 instead of day 28, which is pretty cool and also means that today our assignment changes. We have to insert the explosives. On my way to our briefing to learn about this ridiculously scary process, I pass someone in the cave. I'm so focused on what we have to do today that I almost don't realize who it is until two ferrets peek out of the person's sweatshirt. "Nolan," I say. "Wow. Hi, where have you been? We haven't seen you in ages." Nolan just tries to walk faster, but then one of his ferrets, the white one with the pink eyes, jumps from his hood, scampers down his sweatshirt and jeans, and lops over to me. I remember what Dr. Greer said about his ferrets sometimes biting, and take a step back. "Buggy, get back here," Nolan says, chasing after his pet. Buggy, meanwhile, hops around my boots, then flops over, yanking one of my laces and doing what can only be described as a side somersault with it. "Sorry," Nolan apologizes, picking Buggy up off the cavern floor and putting him back in his hood with Baxter. "It's okay," I say, bending down to retie my boot. "He's actually pretty cute." "Yeah, and he knows better," Nolan chides Buggy, who drapes his head out of the hood over Nolan's shoulder, the picture of pink-eyed innocence. "So where do you work?" I ask. I'm not going to miss my first real chance to get some answers out of this kid. "We've been here for weeks, and we never see you." "Out, mostly," he says. "I work in a different part of the park a lot of days." "Really?" I ask, trying not to get too excited that I'm finally learning more about mysterious Ferret Boy. "What do you do?" "I help Miss McNamara with an area a little south of here," he answers. "Nolan!" a voice calls. Miss McNamara rounds the cave bend. "Hi, Miss McNamara!" I wave in an attempt to hide my disappointment. I didn't realize she was here today. Under normal circumstances, I'd be happy to see her, but she's just ruined my super sly interrogation. "Hello, Bree." She walks over to join us. "It's nice to see you. How have things been?" "Really good," I reply. "We finished our first tunnels. We're going to put the blasting powder down them today." "I've heard," she says, smiling. "Nervous?" "Like you wouldn't believe," I say. She pats me on the shoulder reassuringly. "You'll be fine," Miss McNamara says. Then she turns to Nolan. His ferrets are popping up and down in his hood, as if thrilled to see Miss McNamara. I immediately see why, because she gives them each a treat. Beef jerky, it looks like. "We should get back to the main camp. Your aunt will want to hear about what we've done." "Aunt?" "Right, yeah," Nolan says. He reaches back to settle his pets down, but they just nose out between his fingers, looking for more snacks. "Wait, is Dr. Greer your aunt?" I ask, wondering if I heard that right. "Yeah, I take after my dad," Nolan says, like he's had this conversation a million times before. "He's black, mom's white. She's my aunt on my mom's side." My face flushes and I shut myself up before I say anything else that makes me sound too much like my awkward dad. "Good luck today," Miss McNamara says to me, steering Nolan along. "You won't need it, but good luck all the same. We'll catch up later." I watch them go. I suddenly have a gazillion more questions for Nolan, which is saying something since I knew nothing about him 2 minutes ago. Dr. Greer is his aunt? Wow, did he draw the short straw in the ant department? And what exactly does he do the south of our caves? And was Miss McNamara purposely keeping him from talking to me? Sure seemed like it. There's so much I want to know, but I'm going to be late if I don't get moving. So I let out a grunt of frustration and head to our work site. My boots kick some of the stones underfoot as I descend farther and farther down the caves. A string of lights along the cave walls guide me, and I notice that the fifth lamp from the end is out. I don't like the little patch of darkness that causes. I'm already freaking out enough about today's job, and I would prefer if everything in and around here was working 100%. Not that a single light can mess up too much, but still. When I reach the work cavern, my nerves fire just as badly as they did on day one. Today, we go down our tunnels without our pods, just attached to the cable, no protective cage around us. Exposed, dangling, hopefully not falling to our deaths, all with a pack of explosives strapped to each of us. Oh boy. I meet Wyatt, Todd, and Kinsey at the mouth of the Alpha Tunnel where Dr. Greer goes over our final instructions. The powder won't blow unless it's detonated by remote control, Dr. Greer says. Dr. Greer's tall shadow, created by the giant floodlights behind the massive cement mixer, stretches across the cavern floor and nearly reaches the far wall. I look more closely than usual at her. I guess I can see some resemblance to Nolan, if I really concentrate. It's in the eyes. But that's not to say you shouldn't be cautious, she continues. Your packages are still filled with very volatile substances, and once you've connected the detonator's power supply and radio antenna, there is no undoing it, or it will blow up in your face. Trust me, that's not fun, Kinsey says. A real bummer, Dr. Greer agrees, especially since this will definitely kill you. Wyatt and I laugh at that. Todd frowns at us as if we're being disrespectful, but there's a ghost of a smile on Dr. Greer's face. I've known her long enough now to know that she likely meant that as a very dark, very dry joke. A serious threat, but a joke nonetheless. Mr. Stiles and Mr. Fee come around, handing us each a pack. They're about the weight and size of a bag of flour, with weird padding around them. Before Mr. Fee hands me mine, Dr. Greer steps forward to take it. If I may, she asks. Dr. Greer sets my explosive pack down in a simulated cutaway of the tunnels we've drilled. I fire up my camera, figuring this might be something she wants recorded. Here's what you'll need to do, Dr. Greer explains, demonstrating with the equipment. After you drill 24 holes into the base of your tunnel, you will empty part of your sack of blasting powder into each hole, filling it. Then you will nestle the remainder of the bag at the center point of your tunnel base, with its antenna on top, connected to the metal of the track, like so. She peels a wire off the top of the sack and brings it to the track, wrapping it through the hole at the edge. Then you should cut the corners of the sack and spread some of the blasting powder out to the edges of your tunnel. Do you have all that? We nod. I turn off my camera as Dr. Greer hands me my bag of explosive terror back. I try to keep my hands steady when I take it from her. Do not mix up your packs with each other, Dr. Greer warns. We have assigned you each a pack for your beta tunnel, and if you don't install the one you're given, we may not detonate the proper one when we do our controlled pressure releases. We all instinctively clutch our packs. Okay, Wyatt, you're up first, Mr. Stiles says. He stands at the tunnel entrance, his feet near the edge of it and his hands on the main cable, holding it up to help lower us down. We line up in our usual order, but this time step into harnesses that attach to the cables rather than our pods. In between each of us, giant coils of winch rope are attached to the cable for later use. Then, one by one, Mr. Stiles maneuvers us down into the tunnel. I hold tight to the cable, even though it's unnecessary with my harness. After Kinsey gets lowered with an inappropriate echoing curse word to punctuate her bravado, I choose to descend silently. Good luck, kid, Mr. Stiles says. He hoists the cabling over my head, and I suck in a breath as I'm lowered into the hole on the cave floor. Darkness soon surrounds me. It's weird going down the Alpha Tunnel without my pod. My headlamp illuminates the way, shifting with every moment I make. Every time I turn too much, I swing into the hard, rocky wall, so I do my best to stay steady. I can see Kinsey's light below, past a huge coil of rope attached near her on the cable. She looks up, almost blinding me. then bobs her head back and forth, dancing out a rhythm. I copy her, and soon we're having a tunnel dance party, complete with terrible renditions of pop songs. At one point, Kinsey stops to look down, and I can hear her yell something, presumably at Todd. I can only imagine how annoyed he must be right now by our singing, but he can just deal. We stop when Kinsey gets to the horizontal section. She disappears from my view, and I'm left alone in the dark. I try to hum some of the songs we'd been singing, but my humming gets warbly as nerves kick back in. When I get to the horizontal section myself, my boots hit the curving part of the tunnel, and I have to maneuver slowly to lay on my back. I keep the blasting powder safely on top of my stomach where I can hold it with the cable so it doesn't scrape on the walls. It's super uncomfortable laying on the metal track, sliding along in jerked motions by the cable. More than once I wish I had a free hand to film something. I could use a distraction. Eventually, I reach my beta tunnel. Here, I have to attach the coil of winch rope that's hooked to the central cable onto my belt to allow me to drop down. And down, and down. My breath quickens in my mask. The carabiner I'm latching slips a couple of times before I get it clipped. I let out the same swear word Kinsey used earlier without thinking. Mom and Dad aren't going to be happy with that new habit. Then I lower myself into my tunnel, a few loose chips of falling rock down it as I slide in. My feet dangle, and I repeat a few more of Kinsey's favorite expressions, embracing the power they're giving me. Without my pod, I feel completely exposed, heading miles into our planet, toward Yellowstone's magma chamber. I keep checking my sensors. The temperature is rising, but not to dangerous levels. I'm really glad we only have to do this once. My headlamp illuminates the sparkling granite I've spent the better part of a month drilling through. It's really pretty with its pinks and grays and crystals, and it keeps my mind off the fact that I'm absurdly far below the surface of the planet, with nothing holding me up but a cable and some metal clips. After traveling nearly 2 miles down at painfully slow speeds, I finally reach the end of my tunnel. For the first real time, I get to see what the impression of my big drill looks like on the rock. There's a chewed-up swirling pattern at my beta tunnel's deepest point. I can't tell if it's attractive or ugly. It's symmetrical at least. It's not molten either, so that provides me with some relief. My feet touch down. The rock below me feels way warmer than rock should. I check the temperature again, but we're in the safe range. It's just that I'm super close to where the magma chamber is. Okay, Bree, I whisper to myself. Sweat pours down my face. The faster you do this, the faster you can leave. Take my hand drill off my belt, use my laser-guided ruler, and make a grid of 24 evenly spaced spots on the ground of my tunnel, squatting awkwardly to do so. There's no room to bend over. Drilling this way takes forever. I have to shuffle my feet in a mini-circle to get at the drill points. By the time I'm done, my knees are screaming. Carefully, I open up the blasting powder and pour it into each hole. Then I lay the bag down in the middle between my feet, peel up the antenna wire, and attach it to the track on the wall to boost the range. I connect a couple of wires, completing the circuit to supply power to the little device on top of the pack. This is the part Dr. Greer warned us about. Accidentally undoing this will cause everything to blow up by default. For a brief moment, I worry there's a spark, but then I realize it's just my headlamp gleaming off a less than perfect edge to the track. I wait for my pounding heart to calm down, then I cut the 4 corners open and push out some more blasting powder to the edges of my tunnel. There, that should do it. I latch my rope to lock it, radio in to be lifted out, and turn my camera on now that I don't have to keep my hands on the explosives. The light when I hit record nearly blinds me as I'm hoisted up, but I grin through it because I'm not missing this historic moment. Hi everyone, I say into my camera. This is going to get more views than all of Aunt Pauline's videos combined. I may have just saved humanity. Yes, you're welcome.